You're saying that the machine has taken over.
Right. Well, I'll begin with that.
Yeah, let's start.
And you were right that we have had information overload for most of the 20th century, for most people. The authorities, the institutions that sort of controlled the picture and the icons of what was going on, like the church, the education, the business leaders, politicians, those icons have fallen away. So people now depend on a sense of community from their own information networks. Mm-hmm. That leads to information overload, and I would say that's since the 1960s. Mm-hmm. But the 90s has seen the technology becoming more user-friendly and adapting to your needs, giving you more mobility in a lot of different ways. Mm-hmm. But we still have a structure from the 60s to the 90s of interdependence and people's need to communicate. Now that brings up my theme, cloning ESP.
Yeah, what is it?
I think that technology, electric technology, is always evoking an intimacy. That people interact all over the world with this information environment, but it's been a dominating ESP.
That's why we have these cameras so close, because we want to give the feeling of intimacy, yep, which is the illusion that technology brings. Well, there is an intimacy that I can talk to someone around the world and really connect with them through the phone or through television somehow.
Yeah, it's this close. I would say we're even more invisible. This is where I get into the what we're made up of. I say we're 1/5 neuron, 1/5 chip, 1/5 TV screen, 1/5 astral body, and 1/5 archetype, which would be that human, the sense of a human essence that isn't either chip, neuron, which is biological, astral body, or...
Wait, so we're one chip neuron,
1/5,
1/5,
yeah,
which is the physical body, you're saying, or mental...
It's the biology.
All right,
yeah,
and then 1/5 chip. Now, what's that?
That's the technology, the cell phone, and all that stuff.
That is what makes us up as a personality identity.
That is what you go home, you go to the toilet, then you go check your email. You consider your email as another body function.
Ah, right.
You know, but it's a mechanical, electronic, simulated body function. So it's not biology, but it's very intimate with it, and it's 1/5.
And it's an intimate part of our lives. It's who we are.
Yeah.
You know, our computers.
So that's the second fifth.
I get it.
The third fifth is the pre-chip, the TV screen. The screen's been around for 50 or 60 years. The screen is still here with the computer and that. You don't have a screen necessarily on your cell phone. It's a tiny one. But I mean the dominance of getting information through the screen is still there.
I mean, the screen being a window,
yes,
to some
many other media.
Yeah.
All other media.
Is this window. This
yeah, it contains the movies, the radios, and all that stuff that's on your laptop. Mm-hmm. And then there's the astral body. That's your spiritual self. That is the complement to the biology, which is the neuron. When the neuron dies, it goes somewhere, right? I believe there's an astral body.
Well, I am glad you include that, because that's really the underlying theme of this show, is that we are essentially that. That's essentially who we are, because all those other things can drop away. The neuron, the chip, the,
But let me throw in this.
Yeah.
If, when you do die and you're in the astral plane, there is a great attraction back to this plane, and we don't know, in spite of what spiritual schools say, that this world may not be as important as the spiritual world. This world may be very important, so I say there's a magnetic draw for the astral body back to this plane, and I include that as a potent spiritual force, so that's why I make the astral body only 1/5. It's equal to the biology that you will reincarnate into. And the interesting thing is technology is becoming that intimate, so the astral body is paralleled by the chip.
Really explain that,
yeah,
because how is something that's non-material, like the astral body, being duplicated by a material substance?
Come in closer, I'll tell you about that. Yeah. So the Android meme is made up of 1/5 chip, 1/5 neuron, 1/5 astral body, 1/5 archetype, 1/5 screen. Now we could take the biology is neuron and astral body. Those two go together, the physical and the spiritual. Now the machine is making a complement to that, a simulation. So I would say the TV screen is close to the neuron experience. It's sort of a tactile image that can organize your coherent experience of your sensory life. So we look around like a screen. But the chip is the invisible part of yourself. the cell phone. We don't even know how all these computers, we can't follow the intimate threads that connect all the electric circuitry, the digital circuitry. So I would say the chip technology is parallel to the astrobody, so that you're flying all over the place when you use your cell phone and other digital technology that allows you to fly on inner circuits like an astrobody. Then I say, so you got two parts.
Because we're almost not bodies anymore. We're just voices traveling through space. We become disembodied with the electronic technology.
I would say that we were collectively discarnate from the telegraph to television. We didn't have a freedom. We were inside that collective ESP mandate of the electric environment. It was with the...
We lost our physical body.
Yeah, generally. We still had it, but we were so involved with telegraph, radio, movie, television. These media dominated people's lives for over 100 years, 1850 to 1950. But with the computer and then the satellite, there was a bit of what I call electronic. That's the electronic phase. We're beginning to get out of the electric tribal mandate, and you're starting to have your autonomy. So think in the 50s, the kid with the transistor radio no longer has to listen to the family radio. Can walk around outside and listen to his own kind of music. Bit of autonomy there, electronic autonomy. Then the digital comes in with the chip.
So that was a big break for you're saying that no longer were we tied to the family media.
The tribal.
We broke away with the transistor radio. That was a huge break in our culture.
Oh yeah, that was the beginning of electronic autonomy. And then you had the house with 5 television sets. The kid would have his own TV set. You have the beginning of demographics and fragmentation within the electric sphere, and that's done by electronics.
Well, didn't this actually begin with newspapers? Once everyone could get their own newspaper or printing press.
The printing press was the first tribal medium, but it paradoxically created not only the tribal national group and national boundaries, it also created the individual who could read privately. And yes, that fragmented from the acoustic and tactile First Nature tribal.
That was a break from religion, where the only way you would learn how to read if it was some religious text, and you had to read within a context of some kind of spiritual organization. And so when the printing press developed, we developed individuality.
But we also began the first large groupings called nations. And that's when republics came in, and Ben Franklin used the printing press to start the first free nation away from that tribal feudal European complex. And he did that with the printing press. And then the telegraph, though, starts to alter the...
So the telegraph took us around the world.
Around the world. The global village comes in with the telegraph. You know, they talk about the propagandists of the information highway, talk about we're going into a global village. That's nonsense. We've been in a global village for 100 years.
So
where are we now?
So the telegraph, the radio, the television...
is the electric tribal phase.
Now we're moving into another phase.
The third phase. We've gone through the electronic, which is the computer, which been miniaturizing and smalling, getting rid of the mainframe and getting smaller, and the satellite floating around the whole media complex, and then the miniaturization of the satellite and the computer together. That moves into, and that is the electric autonomy phase. Then we move into the digital phase, and the digital is the building of the android meme.